Three, two, one. Good day, folks. This is Danny Weber from Austin, Texas, and I wanted to talk briefly about the real estate market and what's going on with the, as George Gammon says, cerveza sickness in the market right now. And as real estate investors, we have some tailwinds from this, which are going to help us, and some headwinds, which are going to hurt us. So, as always, I'm not giving investment advice. Much of what here is speculation based on what I consider sound logic that can be argued either way. So let's get started. My credentials: I'm a real estate broker here in Texas, serving the Austin metro area. I'm a mortgage broker, RMLO, insurance company for I think about 10 years. Got a construction company. We do residential remodeling and new construction and property management. We have the Texas property manager here. And then I'm an investor, and I've done numerous notes, flips, assumptions, wraps, rentals, wholesaling, any combination thereof, anything and everything in between. So let's get started. And you can find me on Bigger Pockets as well. I've got a bunch of my portfolio properties there. International and U.S. markets see a 50 to 75% drop in new listing volumes. And I think this is going to be a theme for the next, certainly this selling season. I don't think we're going to have the same volume. And we've got some data to show in just a moment that reflects that from the Austin Board of Realtors, MLS. And be prepared for a long shutdown and then a slow reopening. And I don't think we're going to get back to the way we were, so to speak, for probably a year or two, or at least until there's a vaccine out. So that's something that we're going to have to keep in mind, that we are going to have to modify our showings, modify our listings. We're going to have different disclosures, and we're going to be doing closings differently. I know in Texas right now they've already started doing the video closings, which are definitely going to help us close deals. But also there's going to be a lot of remote closings, mobile notaries. One of the things I suggest you do, if you're doing a lot of volume like I am, I suggest you get a family member or a friend to be a notary, or both. And that way, if you need to call your friend Bob over to notarize your documents, or you've got a neighbor that lives next door that you can pay $100 and get them a notary stamp, then I definitely suggest you do that. That'll ease your burden. And also, it's just a useful thing to have around you. Owner-occupant, buyers and sellers. Here's what I think is going to happen. We're going to have less access to view homes, which is obviously already happening. We're going to have less homes on the market, and the data that we're going to look at in a second reflects that. We're going to have less buyers out just due to the uncertainty of employment, the underwriting guidelines, which is the next one, and the fact that we're going to have less homes on the market, so they're going to have a lot less choices to look at. Less maintenance and repairs done on homes, just because you're not going to want your carpenter, your painter, your plumber, unless it's a mandatory repair, in the houses doing repairs. So I think we're going to see a lot less maintenance done on homes, even if they are put on the market. Definitely longer close times. You're going to see appraisal, surveys, title, everything is going to take longer. You're going to see a lot of remote closings. I think you're going to have to really focus on doing video tours of your homes and having a lot greater of an online presence. Whereas before you could get away with getting some property tours, some virtual tours. I think right now you're going to have to actually do some video tours. You're going to have to get into the video tour game. And even if it's just recorded from your home, I think that's going to become more popular. And the other thing I think we're going to see from an agent standpoint is I think we're going to see less agents. Because most agents don't make much money to begin with. If you look at the majority of them, they may be making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. With all the headwinds that we've got going on, especially in the retail space, I think you're going to see some agents drop out of the game for a couple reasons. Number one, there's going to be less overall deals for everybody to eat from, and number two, for the first time that I can remember, brokers are eligible to get unemployment insurance and unemployment assistance, which means that theoretically you're going to be able to get paid unemployment to stay at home and not work. And there are going to be some people that just do that and abuse it and stay home as long as they possibly can. I know there are limits on that, and I don't know what the limits are, but in Texas, I think it's 13, 15,000, something like that. But long story short, there are going to have some people that take advantage of that. And then increased defaults, foreclosures, and quick sales are possible, and I don't think possible. I think inevitable, because when you look at the some of the programs for the forbearance or deferments, they're just crazy. February 2020 versus March 2020. February is when we really started to, at least in America, get more serious about the cerveza sickness. And you can see that if you look just in this area right here, you're going to see new listings and active listings go down for both months. And I think you're going to see probably a greater number than that in April, which is going to feed into the less homes, less buyers, less overall transactions for agents to eat from. And I think we're going to see this trend. We'll definitely see this trend moving forward. The other thing that's happening right now is that all the Fannies, the Jennies, the Freddies, everybody is doing a lot of overlays right now. And even the banks are doing overlays. The independent underwriters at the banks are doing overlays. And it's making loans overall harder to get, both for owner-occupant and investor. And that's because a lot of these folks are scared that if you get a loan and you close May 1st, May 5th, you're going to call in for a deferment or forbearance. So I think we need to be aware of that you just have to build in a lot of time on your third-party financing condition addendum. I know traditionally here, plus or minus, your people are putting 20 to 27, 28 days, sometimes less, sometimes more, but I think you're going to need to crank that up to 45 to 60 days on the third-party financing condition addendum, just to give folks some time to get through the process. And again, if you look here, and this is basically the mortgage, a person's ability to get a mortgage and how hard it is. And you can see that it's fell by 16%, 24% on conventional, and government's at 6%, and then jumbo decreased by 37%. And jumbo obviously is going to be your more expensive homes, 4 something, 5 something, 6 something, depending on the area you're in. So keep in mind that you are going to have less buyers, and even the buyers that you do have are going to have a hard time getting a loan on the retail side. And that affects the investor because it's going to be harder to sell. And I think, in Austin specifically, it's been a seller's market for years. And I think that's going to transition into a buyer's market with all these things going on. Here's some realities of forbearance. With forbearance, payments can be paused to help owners through a financial crisis. However, at the end of the forbearance, the paused payments will be due. Instead, what they're basically doing is they're saying, hey, we'll give you 3 months of deferment or forbearance, and on the 4th month, you owe the past 3 months and the 4th month, which I think obviously is crazy. And somebody just getting back to work or on unemployment, just coming off of it, they're not going to be able to afford this. And so this is set up for failure. I don't see how, the millions of people that have applied for this are going to come out of the other side of this thing in better shape. This goes back to, as Americans, we're not natural savers. And so hopefully this crisis that we're in right now will force people to save more money. And again, how this affects investors is there's going to be more properties hitting the market. I would definitely look at hitting the non-qualified loan assumption strategy a lot. I think it's time to start ramping up any marketing that maybe you can assist some of these homeowners and prevent foreclosures, prevent negative credit ratings. That's all the things that you need to keep in mind. Investor predictions. Less access to view homes, less homes on the market. Although we could see, I don't think we are. I think we're definitely going to see some distressed sellers, defaults, and foreclosures. But on the backside of that, there's going to be less buyers out looking, which means that you're probably going to have to price these more aggressively. Less maintenance, longer close times, remote closings. I think right now is the time to get cash heavy. I know as far as I go, is I'm just stocking all the cash and liquid that I can so that I can make the most offers on the most properties and acquire what I can. And again, I am more than likely going to be using the loan assumption, not qualified loan assumption to mortgage wrap strategy on most of these properties and put them in my company's name to keep them off of my debt to income ratios, my personal debt to income ratios. Also, another investor predictions. I think we're going to see a lot more confusion in the market with sellers saying, "Oh no, I've got a deferment," or "Oh no, I don't have to pay this back," or "Oh no, they're not going to foreclose on me." Another thing that's going to happen is everybody that's in the short-term rental market, the Airbnb market, they're going to be hit pretty hard because they're not doing bookings right now, or if they are, it's few and far in between. And I know folks that have 10, 20 short-term rental properties that aren't collecting any money right now, and unfortunately those notes don't go away, or even if they do go away, they're deferred. They're going to hit back pretty hard once the deferment is over. Less new construction. I think the one of the indexes that I just saw last week was that I think new construction starts were down 30, 40, 50%. I can't remember the number, but it was substantial. I think we're going to see supply shocks on materials, which means that we're not going to have the same materials to choose from to get from your Home Depot and Lowe's. And then I think we're going to see demand shocks on the backside of that, which means that even if they do have the materials, nobody's going to be out buying them. And of course, decreased spending. Once this is over with, people are going to realize, I believe, that they needed to save more money to get through these types of events. And so decreased spending is bad for the GDP. It's bad for local and state governments because they're not collecting the taxes. And obviously the velocity of cash is going to go down as well. So there's a lot of macro and microeconomic things that are going to play into the real estate market. What should I do as an investor right now? And again, not financial advice. This is what I'm doing. Is get liquid. Assume your renters will skip payments if possible. I think you need to take a pretty stern stance on that whenever possible, but plan for cushions in your cash flow or your reserves. Sell what you need to for survival. I've got one more property that I want to sell the second that we get this shelter in place thing lifted in the Austin area. And I don't know if I'm going to be too late already, but I do want to sell it. And if I have to take a little bit less for it than I know that it's worth, I am still okay doing that, even if I took $10,000, $15,000 less for it, because I know that the deals that are coming are going to make up those dollars. Prepare for more investor type deals, distressed sellers. We talked about that. Ramp up marketing in your area. I don't suggest as an investor that you try to market to 10 or 20 different zip codes or 10 or 20 different neighborhoods. I think you focus on 3 to 5, maybe 7 areas, and you just make those your home. Typically within a concentric circle around your house, plus or minus 5 miles, plus or minus 10 miles, so that you can get to everything easily, and you've got some repeatable successes that are easy to get to. Find people with money. Seek financial partners. Get your hard money lined up. Get your friends with cash lined up that may want to invest. Pay attention to the news. Pay attention to underwriting guidelines. And I've mentioned this a few times. Get very familiar with non-qualified loan assumptions and mortgage wraps. I think that's going to be a huge strategy that we can employ both in Texas and across the nation, even though a lot of agents and even investors aren't familiar with it. Contact your local agents to see if you can get put on some searches with the MLS. Assume any traditional mortgage purchase for investors will be more difficult. There are as hard as it is for retail buyers, owner-occupant buyers, it's going to be more difficult for an investor, both on the purchase side and on the rate term refi. If you're looking to, do the buy rehab refi strategy. So keep that in mind. I would definitely advise you get with your mortgage person, whether that be me or anybody else in the area, to verify again that your strategy will still work and you can still do a rate term refi if you're buying property. Look at alternative markets if if your area is insulated. Austin's a tough market. There's probably 5 or 10 markets in the U.S. that have just been almost bulletproof through any downturn in the economy due to the jobs, the locations, the landscape. Austin's one of them, and even here right now, it's incredibly hard to find deals. So I know that, and I've been through a couple of these downturns. The deals will come back, but if you're in an area that you just can't find a deal, then step out. But again, I'm a big believer in being able to put my hands on properties I own. I'm not, unless you're in California, you really almost can't invest in California unless something just falls in your lap. A lot of California investors do come to Texas, and I work with a lot of them, and that's kind of an exception. But if you're in Texas, you typically want to invest in Texas if you can. I would personally stay away from any medium to high end flips or rentals unless you have done the research and you are 150% sure that this is going to work out on the back and you have 2 or 3 exit strategies. Then you can look at those. But as of right now, in the Austin area, I'm looking at anything sub 300, preferably sub 250 as a target. Obviously, if I can get to 200 or 150, which is almost impossible here, but you can still find some deals out there, that's where I really want to be. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Hit the thumbs up, and if you have any comments, please leave them. And unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of information dealing with the national market because I live and work in Austin, Texas. But if you've got any comments or any videos that you'd like me to do, please leave them below. Thanks a lot. This is Danny Weber, and I appreciate your time.